The Grand Belmont Hotel had never looked more magnificent. Crystal chandeliers poured golden light across a ballroom, filled with the most powerful people in the city. Politicians, industrialists, socialites, and celebrities clinked glasses and laughed loudly, their expensive perfumes mingling in the warm evening air. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. It was the annual gala of Elias Hartwell, the 42-year-old billionaire whose name alone could make boardrooms fall silent. He stood at the center of the room like a king surveying his kingdom, a glass of aged whiskey in one hand and arrogance stitched into every line of his tailored suit. Nobody crossed Elias Hartwell. Nobody dared. Maya Chen had been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight. She was 24, a waitress at the Belmont, saving every penny to pay for her younger brother's surgery. Her feet ached, her back burned, but she carried her silver tray with quiet grace, weaving through the glittering crowd with the practiced calm of someone who had learned long ago that the best way to survive in a room full of power was to become invisible. She was nearly invisible that night. Nearly. It happened close to midnight, when the live orchestra began warming up on the stage. The evening's entertainment was about to begin. A few guests drifted toward the dance floor. Maya was clearing empty glasses from a table near the edge of the room when she accidentally bumped into one of Elias Hartwell's associates, sending a single empty champagne flute toppling. It did not break. It did not spill anything, but the sharp clinking sound cut through the nearby chatter, and Elias turned his cold grey eyes toward her. "Careful, girl," he said loud enough for a dozen guests to hear. "Try not to destroy the furniture." Polite laughter rippled through the nearby crowd. Maya kept her chin down. "I apologize, sir." She moved to step away. "Wait," Elias said, a slow smile spreading across his face. He had the particular cruelty of a man who had never been told no, and something about Maya's quiet dignity seemed to irritate him. "I hear the entertainment tonight includes a dance performance," he announced to those around him. "But why wait? We have a volunteer right here." More laughter. Maya stood very still. "Go on," Elias said, gesturing toward the empty dance floor, where the orchestra had not yet begun to play. "Show us what you can do. Or are waitresses only good at dropping things?" The room had shifted now. Dozens of eyes turned toward the young woman in the white blouse and black uniform apron. Some faces wore cruel amusement. A few wore discomfort. Nobody spoke in her defense. Not one person. For a long moment, Maya said nothing. Her jaw was tight. Inside her chest, something old and fierce stirred. Something she had kept buried for years under the weight of survival, sacrifice, and exhaustion. She set her tray carefully on the table beside her. She untied her apron and folded it neatly over the back of a chair. She walked to the edge of the dance floor. Elias raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised she had accepted. He expected tears or a mumbled refusal, or the sight of her rushing toward the staff exit. He did not expect what happened next. Maya looked at the orchestra conductor. She named a piece. The conductor blinked, then a slow smile crossed his face. He lifted his baton. The first notes of a classic Spanish flamenco filled the ballroom, and Maya Chen began to dance. What happened in the next 4 minutes was something that no one in that room would forget for the rest of their lives. Maya had trained as a professional dancer from the age of 5 until she was 17. When her father fell ill and the money ran out, and the dream was folded away like a letter never meant to be sent. But the body does not forget what the heart has loved. She moved with absolute power and precision, her feet striking the marble floor in sharp, rhythmic bursts that sent vibrations through the entire room. Her arms swept through the air like the wings of a bird that had been caged for years and had suddenly, unexpectedly found the door open. Her eyes were fierce and bright, no longer cast downward but blazing. The ballroom fell completely silent. Not the polite silence of an audience. The stunned, breathless silence of 200 people who had stopped mid-sentence, mid-sip, mid-laugh, every thought driven from their minds by the sheer undeniable force of what they were witnessing. The orchestra played louder, caught up in her energy, feeding her and being fed in return. A woman near the front of the crowd pressed both hands to her mouth. An elderly man with a chest full of military medals sat down slowly in a chair, his eyes wide and glistening. Even the waitstaff along the walls had stopped moving, trays held forgotten at their sides. When the final note rang out and Maya's foot struck the floor, one last time in a powerful, definitive stamp, there was one full second of absolute silence. Then the ballroom exploded. The applause was not polite. It was the kind of applause that begins in the gut, that rises through the chest, that cannot be contained by politeness or class or pretension. People were on their feet. Some were cheering. The woman near the front was crying openly, and she did not seem embarrassed about it at all. Maya stood on the dance floor, chest rising and falling, looking out at the crowd with calm, steady eyes. She was not performing any longer. She had simply told the truth about herself, loudly, in the only language that had always come naturally to her. Elias Hartwell had not moved from where he stood. The whiskey glass was still in his hand. His face had gone through several complicated transformations during those 4 minutes, moving from amused mockery through shock and then to something much harder to name. He was not a man who was often made to feel small. He was feeling it now, and the strange thing was that it was not anger rising in him, but something older and quieter, something that felt uncomfortably like shame. The orchestra conductor stepped forward and began to applaud Maya personally, bowing toward her. Several guests rushed onto the floor to speak to her. An older woman who ran one of the city's most prestigious arts foundations took Maya's hands and held them tightly, already speaking in rapid, excited sentences. Maya listened, answered quietly, and stood with the same simple dignity she had carried into the room as a waitress. Later, after the crowd had gradually returned to their conversations and the orchestra had resumed its program, Elias Hartwell approached Maya alone. The arrogance had gone from his posture. He looked, for perhaps the first time in many years, like an ordinary man. "I owe you an apology," he said. "What I did was unkind. What you did was extraordinary." Maya looked at him for a moment. "Thank you for the apology," she said simply. "I accept it." She picked up her apron from the chair, tied it back around her waist and lifted her tray. She had a shift to finish. The Arts Foundation director called Maya the following morning with an offer to fund a full-year residency at the city's premier dance academy. Within 3 months, Maya had left her waitressing job. Within a year, she was performing on stages she had once only dreamed of as a small girl, watching videos on a cracked phone screen. Her brother had his surgery. She did not forget the night at the Belmont, not because of the humiliation, but because of what she learned in the moment. She set down her tray and walked to the floor. She learned that dignity is not something that can be taken from you by someone else's cruelty. She learned that talent does not die from being hidden. It only waits. And she learned that the most powerful thing a person can do, in a room full of people who expect you to be small, is to simply be exactly, completely, and unapologetically yourself. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Kindness True Stories, where we bring you real and inspiring tales of courage, compassion, and the incredible strength of the human spirit. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that remind us all of what truly matters. Thank you for watching and for being part of our community.